Imagine yourself living in the world of the Joker. The streets of Gotham are as you imagined, dark, gritty, and filled with an uneasy tension. Every corner feels like it's hiding a secret. Every alley whispers tales of danger. It's late evening, and the rain pours down, washing the streets clean, but never the city's sins. The neon lights flicker above you, casting distorted reflections on the wet pavement. The air smells of gasoline, cigarettes, and something else, a scent you can't quite place, like a faint reminder of despair. You've been struggling to keep your head above water. Work at the factory has been slow. Hours are cut, and paychecks barely cover rent. The city's promises of opportunity feel like a joke. But what choice do you have? Leaving Gotham is a fantasy, and you know it. You've lived here your whole life. It's in your blood, as toxic as it may be. Tonight, though, something feels different. You notice people moving faster, heads down, clutching their coats tight. You overhear snippets of conversations, urgent whispers of someone new, someone dangerous. They say he's more than a rumor now. The Joker. Some call him a menace, others call him a hero. A man who finally exposed the city for the circus it truly is. You've heard stories of his masked followers, the ones who believe Gotham's decay is a kind of liberation. You never thought much of it until tonight, when you spot a small group gathering near the old cinema, the one that's been boarded up for years. They're dressed like ordinary people, but their eyes carry a look of excitement, even madness. You don't know why, but you feel a pull. Something inside tells you to follow them. Hiding in the shadows, you trail them. They move quickly, ducking into an alley that twists and turns, leading you deeper into the city's underbelly. You hesitate, feeling the weight of your choice. You know Gotham's alleys can swallow people whole, but something urges you on, a quiet whisper in your mind that tonight you have to know. You emerge into a large, hidden courtyard, graffiti plastered across crumbling walls, the air buzzing with anticipation. The group gathers around a makeshift stage. The lights dim and the crowd hushes. You press yourself against the wall, trying to blend in, when suddenly a spotlight flares to life, illuminating a figure standing at the center. It's not him. It's a man in a cheap suit, with a painted face, a familiar symbol of chaos. He speaks in riddles, his voice carrying an energy that pulses through the crowd. "Gotham is a joke," he declares, his words met with roars of approval. "And we're the punchline. But no more. We're the ones who laugh last now." The crowd is captivated, their eyes wide with belief. You feel the energy pulling you in, a strange mix of fear and thrill. The man's speech continues, building like a crescendo until he calls out, "Tonight, we make history. Tonight, we show Gotham what happens when the masks come off." He raises his hand, and a series of fireworks shoot into the sky, illuminating the courtyard in bursts of red, blue, and green. Colors dance across faces, some ecstatic, others desperate, all searching for something to believe in. You feel a shiver run down your spine as the realization hits you're not just watching. You're part of this now, caught in a web of chaos and revolution. Then, a voice calls from the back, a woman's voice, sharp, commanding. "Enough with the theatrics. It's time." The crowd parts as she steps forward, her eyes locked onto yours. There's no escaping now. She walks straight toward you. The woman's eyes are sharp, and her gaze feels like it pierces right through you. She's dressed simply dark jeans, boots, and a leather jacket, but there's a confidence to her, a sense that she's used to commanding a room. Crowd parts for her, like she's some kind of leader, and when she stops in front of you, the others go silent. "New face," she says, tilting her head slightly. "You don't look like one of ours." You open your mouth, but words don't come. The rain drips from your hair, and you feel the weight of 100 eyes on you. You know Gotham's rules: wrong answer, wrong move, and you might not leave this alley. She raises an eyebrow, waiting. The silence stretches. "I heard about the gathering," you manage to say, trying to keep your voice steady. "Wanted to see for myself." It's vague, but it's the best you've got. Her eyes narrow. "See for yourself, huh?" She looks you up and down, assessing. "Well, that's what most say. But Gotham's not a city for spectators. You either play the game or you don't." There's a murmur of agreement from the crowd, but she raises a hand and they fall quiet again. She circles you slowly, like a predator sizing up prey. The city's sick, rotten to the core. And those who stand by, watching, they're just as much a part of the disease. Her voice hardens. "So, which are you?" Your heart races, and the urge to flee tugs at you, but you stand your ground. "I'm tired of standing by," you say. The words spill out before you can think them through. I want to do something." The woman stops, studying you for a long moment. Then, to your surprise, she smiles a cold, calculating smile. "That's what I like to hear." She motions to someone behind her, and a man steps forward, handing you a small card. It's blank, except for a single red dot in the center. "Take this. It's your ticket. If you're serious, be at the docks tomorrow night, Pier 6. 9 sharp." She leans in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And don't be late. We don't have time for hesitation." You nod, pocketing the card. The woman steps back, and just like that, the crowd's attention shifts away from you. The man on stage continues his speech, and the fireworks crackle above, but the woman's words echo in your mind. She's given you an opportunity, but there's no mistaking it for anything less than a test. You slip back through the crowd, your heart still pounding, and make your way out of the courtyard, the noise of the gathering fading behind you. The rain feels colder now, and every step home feels heavy. The card in your pocket is a reminder that you've crossed a line, one you can't uncross. When you finally make it back to your apartment, you sit by the window, staring out at the city. Gotham's skyline looms, jagged and broken, a maze of shadows and neon. You wonder what kind of people show up at Pier 6 and what they'll ask of you. The thought of being pulled deeper into this world sends a shiver down your spine, but there's also a thrill there, something you haven't felt in a long time. Morning comes, gray and cold, and the city moves on, indifferent to the chaos bubbling beneath its surface. You go about your day, feeling the weight of the card in your pocket. The hours tick by, each one bringing you closer to the choice you'll have to make. By evening, you're standing in front of the mirror, staring at your reflection. The face looking back at you seems tired, older somehow. You think of the Joker, his laughter echoing through the city's alleyways. Maybe it's time you stopped running and started making your own choices. As the clock nears 9, you grab your coat and head out. The streets are quieter now, the city's hum almost muted. Pier 6 isn't far, but every step feels like it takes you deeper into the unknown. You don't know what to expect if you're being set up, tested, or initiated, but one thing's for sure, tonight, everything changes. When you finally reach the pier, you see them figures moving like shadows against the dim lights of the waterfront. You pause, taking a deep breath before stepping forward. You've made your choice. Whatever happens next, there's no turning back. The docks are shrouded in a fog that clings to the air, making the silhouettes of the figures ahead seem almost ghostly. You walk cautiously, feeling the rough wooden planks beneath your boots, the cold wind biting at your face. As you draw closer, you notice the group standing in a loose formation, their faces obscured by the mist and dim light. The woman from last night is there, her arms crossed, watching you approach. You step forward, feeling the weight of their stares. For a moment, you're not sure if you should speak or wait, but she breaks the silence first. "You showed up," she says, a hint of approval in her voice. "Most don't." That says something. You nod, trying to project confidence. "I meant what I said. I'm tired of just standing by." She looks at you for a moment, then gestures for you to follow. "We'll see." She leads you to a side building on the pier, an old warehouse with windows that have long been boarded up. The air smells of salt water and rust, and the distant sound of waves crashing against the pier adds to the tension in your chest. She pushes open a metal door, and you step inside. The interior is dimly lit, with flickering bulbs casting long shadows across stacks of crates and machinery. The group files in behind you, closing the door, and the air is filled with a quiet murmur. You notice several of them are carrying bags, and you catch glimpses of what looks like equipment tools, ropes, and cans of spray paint. The woman steps to the center of the room, raising her hands to quiet the group. "Listen up," she calls out. "We've got a job tonight. The city thinks it can keep us down, keep us divided, but we're going to show them that we're a force to be reckoned with." The crowd nods, some murmuring in agreement. You can feel the tension in the air, a mix of excitement and nervous energy. She continues, her voice strong and clear. "We're hitting one of their precious institutions, a symbol of their false sense of order." She points at a map pinned to the wall, a layout of Gotham's courthouse. "Tonight, we make a statement." Your heart quickens as you realize the seriousness of what's happening. This isn't just some gathering, it's an organized strike, and you're in the middle of it. The woman looks directly at you. "Newcomer," she says, "you'll be with me. We'll be on lookout. Watch the entrances and keep the cops distracted if things go sideways." You nod, trying to mask your unease. "Got it." She smirks. "Good. You wanted a chance to do something. This is it." She turns back to the group. "We move in 15. Gear up." The room bursts into activity as people pull on gloves, slip on masks, and grab their equipment. You find yourself standing there, unsure of your next move, until the woman tosses you a dark hood and a pair of gloves. "Put these on," she says. "No names, no faces, just action." As you pull the hood over your head and fit the gloves on, the reality of what you're about to do sinks in. You're about to be part of something that could get you in serious trouble, something that could change the course of your life. But as the adrenaline kicks in, you also feel a sense of freedom, a rush of excitement you haven't felt in years. When the time comes, the group moves out, splitting into smaller teams. You stick close to the woman, your senses on high alert as you move through the shadows. Courthouse is a towering structure, its facade lit up by floodlights, making it look almost like a fortress. She motions for you to follow as the group splits into different entry points. You crouch behind a parked van, keeping watch. The other teams move quickly, spreading out like clockwork. You can see them planting something near the front steps, spray cans. You think at first, but then you spot the bundles of wires and your stomach clenches. They're not just here for a statement, they're planning something bigger. The woman stays focused, her eyes darting between the other teams in the street. You glance over your shoulder, the distant wail of sirens growing louder. Cops are getting close, you whisper, feeling the tension tighten around you. She nods, her eyes cold and focused. They're always close. Just keep your eyes open. We're almost done. You watch as one of the teams finishes up, retreating into the shadows. The woman taps your arm, signaling to move. You follow her lead, slipping around the back of the courthouse. She stops, taking out a spray can and painting a single red dot on the wall, just like the one on the card you were given. "It's a mark," she says quietly. "We leave it behind so they know." Suddenly, the sirens are closer, and you hear the screech of tires. The woman grabs your arm, her voice urgent. "We're moving." Now, you don't hesitate, running with her into the night, the thrill of the chase pulsing through your veins. The sound of sirens fills the air as you sprint through the shadows, the woman close by your side. The adrenaline pumps through you, and every step feels like you're running on a razor's edge. You don't look back, focusing on her as she leads you through the maze of alleys behind the courthouse. The darkness is thick, and the only light comes from distant street lamps and the occasional flash of blue from the police cruisers swarming the area. "Stay low," she hisses, pulling you behind a stack of crates as a squad car roars past, its spotlight sweeping the alley. You press your back against the wall, your breath quick and shallow. She keeps her eyes fixed ahead, calculating the next move. When the car disappears around the corner, she motions for you to move again. You both slip through a narrow gap between buildings, emerging onto a quieter street. The sirens are still echoing, but they're fading as the police focus their attention on the courthouse. The woman keeps up a steady pace, and you follow, feeling the thrill and fear of the moment coursing through your veins. You've crossed a line, now one that can't be undone. After what feels like hours, you reach a rundown building tucked between two abandoned warehouses. She leads you inside, and you find yourself in another hideout, a room lit by flickering bulbs and filled with supplies. A few other members from the group are already there, catching their breath. They nod at you as you enter, and you get the sense that they're assessing you, deciding if you're really one of them now. The woman closes the door, locking it behind her. "Good job, everyone. We got in, we made our mark, and we got out before they could pin anything on us." She pauses, scanning the room before her eyes settle on you. "And you," she says, with a hint of a grin. "Not bad for your first run." You give a nod, still trying to process everything. "What now?" you ask, the adrenaline making your voice come out sharper than you intend. "We just keep running." She shakes her head. "We regroup. Tonight was just the start. It's about showing Gotham that we're not afraid, that we can move through their cracks without getting caught." She steps closer, her expression more serious now. "But it's not about chaos for the sake of it. It's about sending a message." The others listen, nodding along, and you start to understand. This isn't just a random act of rebellion. It's organized. They have a plan, and they believe in it. "So, what's next?" you ask, feeling yourself drawn in further. She glances at the group before answering. "We go underground for a bit. Let things cool down. The cops will be on high alert, and we need to stay out of sight. But that doesn't mean we stop. We watch, we plan, and we strike when they least expect it." You lean against the wall, your mind racing. You've become a part of something much bigger than you anticipated, and you're not sure if you're ready for it. But there's also a pull, a sense of belonging that you've never felt before. The way they talk, the way they move, it's like they're united by a shared purpose, a vision of Gotham that's different from the one you've known your whole life. As the night stretches on, the group disperses into smaller conversations. You find a spot in the corner, and for the first time, you have a moment to breathe. You think back to the events of the night, the thrill of running through the streets, the red dot painted on the courthouse wall. It feels surreal, like you've stepped into another life, one where you're no longer just another face in the crowd. The woman eventually walks over, leaning against the wall next to you. "You did good out there," she says, her tone softer now. "Most people don't have the guts to show up, let alone stay calm when things get tense." "Thanks," you reply, trying to hide the nerves still buzzing in your system. "But what's the end game here? What's all this leading to?" She crosses her arms, her eyes distant for a moment before she answers. "Change. Real change. Gotham's been a prison for people like us for too long. They build their walls higher, tighten their grip, but they can't keep everyone locked down forever. The Joker showed us that." She glances at you, her expression unreadable. "We don't follow him, not exactly. But his chaos, it's a spark. One that can light the way for something new." You nod, feeling the weight of her words. "And if it doesn't work," she shrugs, "then at least we tried. Better than living in the shadows, pretending we don't see what's right in front of us." Her eyes lock onto yours, and for a moment, it feels like she's challenging you to commit, to choose a side. So, are you in, or are you just here for the thrill? The question hangs in the air, and you know your answer matters. You take a deep breath, the sounds of the city echoing faintly outside. "I'm in," you say, the words feeling both like a promise and a point of no return. She smiles, a small but genuine one. "Good, we'll be in touch. And remember, keep your head down and your eyes open. The city's always watching." She pushes off the wall, heading toward the others, leaving you alone with your thoughts. As the group starts to disperse into the night, you find yourself standing at the doorway, looking out at the city beyond. Gotham stretches out before you, a maze of lights and shadows. You know the risks, the stakes, and yet there's a part of you that feels alive, more alive than you felt in years. The fog lifts slightly, and as you step out into the night, you realize that whatever comes next, there's no turning back. You've chosen your path, and Gotham has become your battlefield. The days that follow are tense. You keep your head down, just as the woman instructed, and try to blend into the monotony of your usual routine. The factory work feels even more suffocating now, the hours dragging on as the memory of that night replays in your mind. You go through the motions, but you feel different, like you're carrying a secret that separates you from everyone else around you. The city is on high alert. News spreads about the courthouse, the red mark left behind, and the authorities are scrambling to find those responsible. You watch the reports on the small TV in your apartment, the anchor's voice full of tension as they speculate about a growing movement inspired by the Joker. You know they're talking about your group, but you keep your face neutral, careful not to show any reaction. A few nights later, the contact finally comes. A note slipped under your door. It's an address and a time. No other details. You know the drill by now, no hesitation, no questions. You show up or you don't. The address leads you to a rundown bar on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where people disappear into the shadows and never come back out. You push through the heavy door, the smell of stale beer and smoke hitting you immediately. The lighting is dim, the air thick with tension. A few patrons sit scattered across the room, their faces obscured by the gloom. You spot her, the woman from before, at a booth in the back, and she nods for you to join her. You slide into the seat across from her. The red neon glow from a nearby sign casting strange shadows on her face. "Glad you made it," she says, sliding a drink your way. You glance at it, but don't touch it. She notices and smirks, careful. Good instinct. "What's next?" you ask, keeping your voice low. She leans in, her eyes scanning the room to make sure no one's listening. The city's cracking down hard. They think they can intimidate us into silence, but they're just making us stronger. We're planning another strike, something bigger this time. You feel your pulse quicken. "What's the target?" She pulls out a small map, unfolding it on the table. The Gotham Financial Building, one of the city's most protected places. But it's not just about the money. It's about sending a message showing them that their fortress isn't untouchable. She traces her finger along the building's layout, her eyes focused. "There's a rally happening next week, one of those corporate PR stunts where they pretend they care about the city. That's our window." The plan is ambitious, maybe even reckless. You know how tight security is around that building, and you feel the weight of what she's asking. "And what's my part?" you ask, bracing yourself. "You'll be on the inside this time," she says. "We've got someone who can get you a security badge, make you look like you belong. Your job is to create a distraction, something that draws the eyes of the guards so the others can move in. It's risky, and you both know it. But there's no backing down now." You nod, the decision already made. I'm in." She smiles, that same calculating look in her eyes. "I knew you would be." She folds up the map and tucks it away. "Keep your eyes open and stay low until then. We'll contact you with the details." You leave the bar, the cold night air biting at your face. The streets are quieter here, and the silence feels heavy. You walk quickly, pulling your hood up, every shadow and every sound putting you on edge. You can feel the weight of what's to come, the risk you're taking, but there's also a thrill, a sense that, for the first time, you're part of something that really matters. The next week passes in a blur. You keep a low profile, avoiding unnecessary attention. You study the building's layout, memorizing every detail of your role, knowing that one mistake could mean the end for all of you. The news is still buzzing with updates about the courthouse incident, and the tension in the city is palpable. Every patrol car that passes, every glance from a stranger, feels like a threat. You nod, the badge cold in your hand. You know the stakes, and you know the risk, but there's no room for fear now. You slip into the crowd gathered for the rally, blending in with the other staff as you make your way inside the building. The lobby is grand, marble floors and high ceilings, the kind of place meant to impress. But all you see are the security checkpoints and the guards, their eyes scanning the crowd. You keep your head down, moving with purpose as you take your position near the entrance. You've rehearsed this in your mind 100 times, and you know the exact moment when the others will strike. Crowd outside is cheering, the mayor giving a speech about progress and prosperity, all lies masked in polished words. The signal comes a flash of light from across the room. Your heart races as you pull out a small device from your pocket. This is it. You take a deep breath and activate it, sending the entire lobby into chaos as alarms blare and the lights flicker. Guards rush to the source of the disturbance, and in the confusion, you slip away, heading for the exit as the plan unfolds around you. Outside, the night is filled with shouts and sirens, and you move through the crowd, disappearing into the darkness. You've done your part, and as the chaos erupts behind you, You know there's no turning back now. The revolution has begun. The city is alive with chaos as you weave through the panicked crowd, slipping into the shadows like you've done 100 times before. The noise of alarms and sirens blends into a single, pulsing sound, and you keep moving, your heart racing, the adrenaline pushing you forward. The plan is in motion, and there's no turning back now. You find yourself in an alley, a few blocks from the financial building, catching your breath for a moment. The night is cold, and your breath forms clouds in the air as you try to steady yourself. You pull out your phone and check the time right on schedule. The others should be making their move now. You glance up at the towering building in the distance, the lights flickering from the disturbance you caused. It feels like the whole city is on edge, teetering on the brink of something bigger. The woman appears from the shadows, her expression intense but composed. "You did good," she says. "The distraction worked. They never saw it coming. What about the others?" You ask, your voice steady but your mind racing. "They're inside, getting what we need. We've got a few minutes before the cops start locking down the perimeter." She looks at you, her eyes sharp. "This is the turning point. If we pull this off, it's going to shake Gotham to its core." You nod, feeling the weight of her words. "And if we don't?" She smiles, but there's a hardness to it. "Then we go down fighting. But either way, they'll know we were here. They'll know we're not just shadows." She pulls a small device from her pocket, a remote detonator. "And they'll know we're not afraid to make them see it." You glance at the device, the reality of what's happening hitting you all at once. "We're blowing the building." "Not the whole thing," she says. "Just enough to send a message. The system's been built on their backs for too long, and we're going to show them what happens when they ignore the people." She looks at you, the seriousness in her eyes making it clear this is the point of no return. "You still with us?" You swallow, your hands cold. But there's no doubt in your mind now. You've come too far to back out. I'm in." You take the card, slipping it into your pocket. The sirens grow louder, and you know time is running out. She gives you a final nod before disappearing back into the shadows, and you're alone again, standing in the cold night air. You glance up at the building one last time, the lights flashing and warning, and you know the moment is near. Then, in an instant, the ground shakes. A flash of light erupts from the base of the building, and the windows explode outward, sending glass raining down. Crowd screams, and you feel the shockwave ripple through the street. You turn and run, blending into the chaos, your heart pounding as the echoes of the explosion fade into the night. You duck into another alley, slipping through the maze of back streets until you find the door marked with the red dot. Pushing it open, you step into the dimly lit room, the smell of dust and smoke lingering in the air. A few of the others are already there, some with their faces covered, their eyes alert. They nod at you as you enter, and you feel the tension ease just a bit. You're safe for now. The woman joins you a few minutes later, her expression triumphant but guarded. "It's done. We made our mark." You nod, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from your system. "What now?" "Now, we wait and watch." She glances out the window, the distant glow of the burning building reflected in her eyes. "The city's going to react hard. They always do, but we'll be ready for it. This is only the beginning." You look around the room, the faces of the people who have become your allies, your comrades. You feel a sense of purpose, a determination you never knew you had. The city may be in turmoil, but for the first time, you're not just another bystander watching from the sidelines. You're part of the chaos, part of the movement that's shaking Gotham to its core. The night stretches on, the sounds of sirens and helicopters filling the air outside. But in this moment, you feel a sense of clarity. You know the path you've chosen is dangerous, and there's no guarantee of survival. But there's no turning back now. Gotham has become your battleground, and you're ready to fight for the city's future, whatever it may hold. As dawn breaks, the city's skyline is tinged with smoke. You stand by the window, the red glow of the rising sun casting long shadows. The woman stands beside you, and for a moment, there's a silence between you, an unspoken understanding. "Welcome to the revolution," she says softly. And as you look out at the city, you know that whatever happens next, you're ready to face it. You found your place in the madness, and now it's time to see how far the chaos can go.